What's up, guys? We are back with another Star Wars Black Series review, and we're taking a look at something I got my hands on a little bit early out of impatience, and then I'll just say it now, out of frustration because I have not been able to find NECA turtles, so I turned my money elsewhere. And we're taking a look at the Star Wars Black Series ZEB Orrelios. GARAZEB, ZEB Orrelios. So this is, of course, the star of the show when it comes to the new, mostly reissue Rebels wave, because we have been waiting forever for this big purple guy, and I'm really excited to finally have him. We can complete the team. And of course, with this guy, we've also got the brand new packaging scheme for Black Series. This guy is a little bit bigger because he's a deluxe figure in of course, based on his size, but it's the same kind of thing. So we've got the figure in the new standard packaging. Figure in the window, you've got the purple theme for Rebels. You got his name down there on the bottom, and then it's got that angled spine that has his artwork running down it with the purple motif that wraps around to the back, showing a bigger shot of that same artwork, and then a little bit of a bio for our friendly Lasat here. So yeah, let's do it. Let's pull him out and take a look. And here he is out of the package, rounding out our Rebels crew. Finally, we've got our ZEB figure, and this guy is pretty interesting. This is very much a different type of Black Series figure just because of the kind of creature he is, really. So he's got a lot of different articulation than we're used to, but it's still very Black Series-esque. So let's see what this guy can do, see how he moves around. We've got, to start with, you've got a head that is on a double ball peg, so it does have pretty good range of motion. He does have a very wide, kind of squatty head, though, so he goes up and he goes down. Of course, you can push the actual ball peg further into the hole to make him go even further down. So you've got kind of like the lollipop syndrome there. You've got good tilt side to side and then full rotation. Arms go out at the shoulders, pretty much 90 degrees. They rotate all the way around. He does not have a butterfly joint on this figure. There is no bicep swivel, of course. And then you've got rotating elbows. You've got really deep cuts for the elbow as far as the hinge. So he has pretty good range of motion. I mean, it's slightly more than 90, but it's at least a full 90 degrees. You've got hinges and rotation at that wrist there. I'm going to take this off just to get it out of the way. I'm going to drop it. So you've got another hinge, of course, on the other wrist, and it is a vertical hinge there. So you've got one vertical and then one horizontal or lateral hinge. We've got only one point of articulation at the torso or the waist. So there's no cut at the diaphragm. It's just a ball peg down in the waist, because I'm assuming because of how he's cut here, it probably would have looked funny, or maybe they would have had to have done it along this line, which I'm not sure would have actually worked. So you've got good tilt side to side. He goes backwards. He goes forward still, and then of course you can rotate. Despite the fact that he doesn't have anything else as far as like an actual crunch or a diaphragm cut or anything, he still moves pretty well. I've been able to get him down into some kind of hunches and like the superhero landing pose almost in some ways. So that works fine. It's really not as impeding as it might seem for just the one cut there. We've got legs that go out about that far. They kick forward all the way. They kick backwards. You do have your thigh cut. And then we've got the knees down. This is where things are definitely different because he's a digitigrade type of creature. So he walks on his toes. So of course he has extra joints here. So you've got your double jointed knees. Mine are really stiff on this left leg. The right one's fine. It works fine. It's just stiff. So you've got double jointed knees. Then you've got the first ankle or whatever you want to call it. So it kicks backwards, it kicks forwards, and then it also rocks there. And then you've got your actual ankle down at the foot. So you've got a hinge here, which goes up and down pretty well. And then you do have a rocker. Of course, he's got a really wide foot, so the rocker's kind of awkward in some ways, but it still works really well. And I've had no issues with kind of standing him around or just general stability. Oftentimes this type of joint structure can be kind of weird and cumbersome, but he does move pretty well and he stands just fine. Everything is surprisingly stable for how many cuts are down there. Now, as far as the overall look and feel, the aesthetics of this guy, frankly, that's what I'm most interested in. He does move around really well. But it's all about the look for this guy, because ZEB has such a unique look when it comes to the show in general, and then Star Wars as a whole, because, well, you don't have any other figures that look like this, and he's also got a lot of size. So I will be doing a size comparison to the other figures that are you know, Rebel-esque. And of course, I'm going to have a full group shot down the road. So we've got a very, very large figure here. So this is definitely among the biggest figures in the Black Series for sure. He's very hefty, which is fantastic. So he's got a big shelf presence, and I think it looks great. This is definitely one of those instances, well, pretty much like they did with the entire Rebels crew, where they took the Rebels characters that are, you know, a very specific art style, full CG artwork, obviously, for the cartoon, and made them, you know, pseudo-realistic. So he doesn't have a cartoony look. He very much does look like this creature could have existed, I suppose is the best way to say it. So he's got some, you know, slightly muted color tones here, and I think the overall look is really nice. A lot of that comes through in the face, where they translate that CG style of artwork into an actual figure, but the figure honestly looks really solid. Like, I don't really have any complaints here. I think the colors are really nicely done. The paint application on this guy is really solid because, of course, he does have a lot as far as all of his, you know, kind of purple tiger stripes that are all over him. We've got the, you know, the kind of artwork that's on his shoulder piece here, which looks really good. You've got some wear and tear on his armor as far as kind of nicks and cuts and just, you know, gouges over time. There are 2 spots on the back for his bow rifle, and then you've got little bit of paint application here on the gauntlets, but it's all about the fur for him, really, where you've got the kind of undertones on the inside of the arms here, and then you've got that light purple with, or like kind of lavender color, and then you've got those darker stripes, which are really crisp and clean. Like, I don't have any issues with bleeding or the kind of Marvel Legends issue where they have really fuzzy lines. These are all very crisp and very solid, and overall the sculpt, especially down here on the feet with the toes, kind of wrinkled, almost scaly skin, comes through really, really well. So I'm very, very happy with the way this figure looks, especially when it comes to shelf presence and overall kind of imposing nature, because, you know, ZEB is a huge guy. But a lot of the cool factor for this figure for me truly comes into this head sculpt, because I really like what they did here. So we've obviously got some photo real here, and I think that does kind of bring in the slightly realistic aspect that they're going for when it comes to this guy. I mean, it's quite obvious that this is not just something that's taken straight out of the cartoon. They have interpreted it into a more realistic Black Series style, and I think he looks really good. My one criticism might be that I kind of wish he had at least a bit more of an expression. He's definitely a grump, but he could have had maybe just a little bit more. But I say that with just about every Black Series, because they're all very neutral in many ways. But I do think he looks really good. The shading on the face is fantastic. It's a very, very nice gradient from kind of like a brown to a gray almost, as it kind of goes from the nose backwards to the face, and then you've got that purple lavender color scheme with the purple tiger stripes. You got his mutton chops, and then the beard, which has a nice bit of dry brushing in there. And then he just looks angry. He looks curmudgeonly. He's got a very unique sculpt, obviously, and I'm really happy with just about everything on this figure. I do again wish that he maybe had a little bit more of an expression, but at the end of the day, this definitely is something that you could see on his face in the show, where he is very much not happy with whatever is going on. And then as far as size comparisons go, here he is next to, well, frankly, all of the figures that truly matter in terms of scale. Because, again, ZEB is a big guy, and he's definitely among the biggest regular figures when it comes to the Black Series. Well, he's a deluxe figure, but you know what I mean. So we're not talking about dewbacks or anything like that. But as far as a humanoid kind of character goes, he is quite large, and he towers over every other Rebels character, you know, especially Ezra, certainly Chopper, but even Kanan is still relatively tall as far as characters go, but he is a good inch taller than him. So ZEB has a tremendous amount of height. He's got a lot of bulk, and overall is just a really, really imposing figure next to all of the other characters that he goes with. So as far as scale goes, I think he's pretty dead on. I think they got him really nicely sized up here, and he fits really, really well with the rest of the crew. And for accessories, we do only have one, but of course it's the one thing that really matters most. Well, I guess technically it's not just one, but you really can't use all of them without using them with the one. So it's one big accessory. So we've got his Honor Guard bow rifle here. And this thing is definitely really interesting as far as Black Series accessories goes, because, well, it's definitely unique in just about every single way. So I already had it on him. It's got pegs on either side where you can pop it into the 2 holes on his back, because he carries it on his back. So you get points from me right off the bat because of the fact that he can store this thing on him at all times, which I absolutely love. So he keeps it on his back, and you've got it there. So that's cool. That's thing number one. but it's also two different weapons. So if you're familiar with the story and the show, you know that this thing is also a gun and it's a staff. So you've got a couple different ways you can use this. So you pull it apart at the middle here, and you can kind of make it into staff mode. So pull it apart, twist it around, and then you've got these two pieces up here that you pull out. And you can see it's got some size to it, so it's about as tall as he is, well, maybe up to his shoulder. There's a little bit of silver metallic paint for sort of rub and wear and tear, and then you've got the wraps all around it. But then you've got actual energy effects that pop onto the end because it's like an electro staff. So you can pop those on, and then you've got two pink effects that tip off this weapon, which frankly is definitely not a normal thing to get in Black Series. So we get not one but two effect pieces, which is, it's very uncommon, really. So you've got those. You can pop those off, and then we can turn it into the gun. I guess I could have done that first, but here we are. So you would twist it around, and then retract it, push all this stuff back in, and then you flip this one down, and that is the gun. So this is how he holds it. There's your trigger, and he can hold it okay. It's definitely better in the staff mode because this is there's just a lot of space here. There's a lot of stuff going on here. So as far as holding it, it is kind of tight to get it in his hand, but it does work just fine. And then you can pop one of the energy effects back onto it, and you can have him blasting someone. So I absolutely love this thing. I think it is incredibly well done. The only real, I guess, remote gripe I have is that he holds it better as a staff than as a gun, just because there's just a lot to get in his hand there. And even when it's a staff, there's still a lot to get in there because he holds it by this big, thick part here. But he holds it really well because he does have such large hands and he has such a wide grip already. So I haven't run into any issues where I think it's going to, stress his hands because honestly, it fits in there surprisingly well. So yeah, it's a pretty cool accessory, and I think they did a really good job kind of getting it to do what it's supposed to do. So it's not two accessories, it's one that converts into two. Not to mention the fact energy effects are a way to my heart and my wallet every day. So yeah, we have a really solid release, frankly. There's not anything to truly complain about here, I don't think. I do have maybe two minor gripes, and they're just that, gripes. They don't even really register, honestly. He does hold the gun mode of his weapon kind of awkwardly, just because of how big that staff portion and the actual trigger area are. And then I wish he had a bit more of an expressive face. Maybe just, like a snarling or growling look in some way. But I always say that with Black Series, and inevitably when they do that, I'll probably just say I wish they gave him a neutral head. So, it's feast or famine, and I'm perfectly fine with the very grumpy standard look that he comes with, because otherwise this guy is pretty flawless. I love everything they did about his size, the bulk, the overall sculpt and paint. The way they handled his legs works really well. He's very stable, still moves very, very nicely. You can get him in all sorts of poses. He has great mobility, and I mean, he rounds out a crew that we've been dying for a very long time. And I think he's probably my favorite Black Series release of the year so far at this point. I know Dooku was my number one. I think he just got dethroned because this guy is really well done and is a lot of fun. So that's going to do it for this look at the Star Wars Black Series ZEB Orrelios. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And until next time.